You may look strong. You might even say that everything is fine. But what happens when pressure comes from all sides and your body starts screaming before your mind can even understand what's going on? We live in an era where feeling has become a sin. Crying is weakness, reacting is drama, and getting sick is your fault. There is a powerful, silent narrative that says, if you are suffering, the problem is inside you. But what if what's making you sick is coming from the outside? Oppressive environments, relationships disguised as care, sweet words with cruel effects. This is not drama. It is the invisible root of a great deal of real suffering. What happens to someone who is silenced every day, even without shouting? What is the emotional cost of living under constant control with no right to pain? How did this logic become embedded in modern discourses of self-control? And why do so many people still believe that suffering is always a choice? Before answering, we need to go back in history and understand what lies behind the idea that feeling is wrong. The idea that suffering is something to be resolved individually did not appear out of nowhere. It became consolidated with the popularization of simplified psychological approaches that turned into easy-to-consume products. Pop psychology and self-help narratives spread the belief that the problem is almost always inside you. This discourse found fertile ground in movements such as motivational coaching, where mindset change is sold as a universal solution. In this context, everything is reduced to a choice. You choose whether to be affected or not. You choose whether to react or to evolve. And if you can't, the fault is yours. But this individualistic view of suffering ignores something fundamental: context. Abusive relationships, oppressive environments, structural inequalities, and systems of control are not details. They are forces that shape what we feel and how we feel. Worse still, this discourse creates an ethic of resilience at any cost. And sometimes, resisting what hurts you is precisely what prolongs the suffering. That's when we hear phrases like, "You're too sensitive," "It's all in your head," "Everyone goes through this." These statements delegitimize the other person's pain, placing full responsibility inside their mind, as if it were possible to get sick alone. But it isn't. This is where an important concept emerges: induced psychological helplessness. It appears when a person is repeatedly exposed to control, silencing, and invalidation. Over time, they lose the ability to react. It looks like apathy, but it is trauma. It's important to emphasize this is not victimhood. Victimhood is distorting reality to escape responsibility. Here, we are talking about realities in which suffering is caused from the outside in, where illness is the consequence of constant, invisible pressures. Imagine living in an environment where you cannot express what you feel. You cannot disagree or decide for yourself. Everything you think is placed under suspicion. Emotional imposition manifests in subtle yet devastating ways. Phrases such as long as you live here, you'll follow my rules. God told me this is the right thing. I'm doing this for your own good." These are examples of how symbolic power, whether religious, moral, or emotional, is used as a tool of oppression. The other person is silenced not by shouting, but by the delegitimization of their own perception. This type of environment generates real psychological consequences. Anxiety settles in as a constant perception of danger, with no escape route. Depression emerges as exhaustion from fighting without being able to change anything. Extreme thoughts appear as a desperate attempt to end the suffering. None of this is exaggeration. It is response. The body and the mind react to what is unsustainable. Blaming the individual for what they feel is a dangerous mistake. Not all pain originates from within. Much of it is planted by constant external pressures that erode self-esteem, the sense of reality, and the ability to ask for help. When we blame the victim, we reinforce the cycle of silencing. We repeat what the environment already does. We deny the right to feel. One of the most repeated phrases online is, "If it's not under your control, it shouldn't affect you." But this is a distortion of classical Stoicism. For thinkers like Epictetus, impact is inevitable. What is proposed is not to be deformed by it. Or, as Seneca said, "No tree becomes strong unless the wind forces it to resist, but there are winds that uproot." True Stoicism is recognizing pain, processing its impact, and choosing what to do with it, not pretending it doesn't exist. No one is responsible for another person's emotions, but everyone is responsible for the foreseeable harm they cause. When someone holds emotional power over another, whether as a parent, partner, boss, or spiritual leader, they must understand the weight of what they say and do. Love does not justify control. Concern is not a license for invasion. Genuine care requires listening, freedom, and respect. Often, those who cause suffering are surprised by the other person's withdrawal, crisis, or depression. They say they didn't understand, that they only wanted to help, that they did everything out of love. But love without listening is imposition. It is manipulation disguised as care. And this kind of relationship makes people sick. Emotional lucidity is not enduring everything in silence. It is having the courage to feel, to recognize what harms you, and to set boundaries. Not all suffering comes from your fragility. Sometimes it is the echo of constant pressure, of a hostile environment, of a bond that suffocates. The final message is simple, yet powerful. Suffering is not proof of weakness. Sometimes it is simply the echo of something crushing you from the outside in.